Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan. Thanks for watching our show. Whether you're watching it live as a vodcast or if you're listening to it as a podcast, we're really happy that you decided to be in our audience. We have a wonderful author for you today, and we'll be bringing her on in a few minutes. I do want to remind you that this is a pre-record, and I know that you're all used to being able to comment and ask questions. Go ahead and comment and ask questions, and when this comes out, we'll be able to get around to it and answer you on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Whatever that thing is.
Whatever that is.
No.
The YouTube.
Not on Facebook, but if you go to our YouTube channel, we'll be able to.
The YouTube conduit.
Yeah. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube.
We need subscribers. Okay. Immediately after our show, stay tuned or move over to the Voice of Indie podcast on blogtalkradio.com with host Beam Weeks and Stephen Gary G's. They're on every week right after our show on Wednesday. Yep. Stay tuned at the end of this show, and you'll have the details on how to get over to that, exactly on how to get to there and interact with their show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's right at the end of our show. Okay. Don't know who their guest is going to be this week because we're pre-recording this. We do know this Saturday on episode Rewind, and that's every Saturday night at 5:30 p.m. right here where you're watching live right now. This Saturday, the featured author is Stacy Hawks from North Carolina. It's episode 64, and that's February 11th, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And next Wednesday, we have the pleasure of being live again. And our guest is Jim Carlson. He's a Fox Point Publishing author. And he's written a children's book called Reagan Slays the Dragon. Mm-hmm. So it should be interesting to hear what his experiences are. Mm-hmm. And that's at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, of course, next Wednesday, February 15th. So we hope you will join us and come armed with all your questions and comments.
Yes.
Because everybody loves the questions and comments.
Mm-hmm.
So now we'd like to introduce our guest for tonight is Savanna Loy. Hello, Savanna.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, you guys.
Well, thanks for being on it. If you authors weren't on the show, there wouldn't be a show.
Nah, nobody wants to just watch us.
No, talking about books.
Nah.
They'd rather hear what you have to say.
There you go.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe how long you've been wanting to write and why you wanted to write and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I have believe it or not, I've wanted to be an author. I've been writing my whole life, but I wanted to be a published author for 25 years. In fact, my first completed manuscript is a mystery thriller. It's kind of more my favorite genre to read. And it's sitting in some landfill somewhere across the United States because I wrote it on a summer break visiting my aunt on her old computer. And, when things still dialed up. And then I saved it there and I never did anything with it. So it's been my dream since I was a little girl. And honestly, it was my dream because reading was such an escape for me. I've got a childhood trauma past, like unfortunately a lot of people in the United States and across the world. And reading was just that outlet for me to get away from it all and pretend like it wasn't there. And so from a very young age, I decided as a little girl, man, I want to do this. I want to create worlds for people where they can escape, and not necessarily even something traumatic, but even if it's just, I had a tough day at work, let me grab my book and just, de-stress for a minute. So I wanted to create that type of space for people like I had growing up. So I wanted it for 25 years now. So it's finally happened and I'm super, super excited.
Yeah, well, we're excited for you. What made you decide to write at this time?
Well, so it's a huge secret that most people don't know. I am an avid classic Disney fan. I've never been to Disney. It's a dream. We actually had tickets purchased, all paid for, everything ready to go.
COVID.
January 2020, and then COVID hit and it got shut down. We were going to be going actually in April. So COVID ruined that. And back then we had 3 kids and one of them was free. Now we have 6 kids and then you have to pay for all of them. So I don't know if we're ever going to make it to Disney, but even though I've never been, just Disney, I love classic Disney, and my kids' rooms are in Disney. And so my first actual completed manuscript outside of the 9-year-old manuscript is a fairy tale retelling, probably the most unique way it's ever been done. And they're completed sitting on my computer. But I started putting it out there, trying to find an agent and a publisher, and nobody wants to touch it because it doesn't say anything about Disney, but I keep getting feedback that they don't want to go up against Disney. And so sorry. So I just tabled the idea of, being an author and like, maybe I shouldn't do it. And that was a dream that I had. Like the storyline was a dream. I woke up in the middle of the night and I was like, oh my goodness, I had this dream. And I told my husband, he said, write it. And I said, I can't write a book. He said, no, Savanna, I'm serious. I've told stories my whole life. I've written my whole life, essays. I'm a retired principal. I taught English and grammar. And I would always show up to school and, guys, I got to tell you about this dream I had, or let me tell you a story, or let me help you with your essay. So it's always been in me. But so fast forward a year after my first manuscript was done, and agent after agent after agent told me, I'm sorry, we can't. It's great, but we can't. I just kind of felt like, okay, I guess it's not my dream. And I've never really gone for my dreams, but I have 6 kids now, and I really wanted them to see me go for a big dream and try to make it happen. So I had another crazy dream, and I woke up and I wrote everything down from my dream. And the next morning I told my husband, he said, that's it. Okay, you're doing it. You're going to go do this. You're going to be an author, and I'm going to make it happen. So he kind of pushed me into it. And we did find somebody that I could work with, and I paid all the upfront fees of editing and all the cover, paid for all of that. And here we are. It's out, and it's out there in the world, and I'm super excited about it.
That's really great.
There's nothing like the feeling of getting that first print copy in your hand, right?
Yes, I'm opening it up. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a funny story. I was at work and Amazon dinged and said, delivery. Well, I knew what it was. And so like, I'm at work, like almost hyperventilating, like, oh my goodness. Well, my husband was at home and he shows up an hour later and he said, have you checked your Facebook? And I said, no, I'm at work. He said, pull up the video right now. So I pull up the video and I'm watching a Facebook video of him going, you guys, my wife's book's out and I just can't wait for her. I'm going to open it. And I'm like, what? So I'm watching this video of him opening my book. And I'm not even home with him. Well, I didn't realize at the corner of my eye that he's filming me. And so I'm like, what? Oh my, Jordan, no, you did not. And I'm like freaking out. And then he opened, he's like, just kidding. I couldn't do that. It wasn't my book. He was just, and so he was videoing that reaction of him opening my book. And so when I realized he was filming though, I looked at him and my hair was all crazy. And I was like, whoa, why are you filming me? And so anyways, he didn't open my book, but it was, you're right. Going home and opening it and pulling it out of the sleeve and seeing it actually in your hands it's a surreal moment for sure.
It is.
It is.
Now it's in the Library of the Congress forever. I mean, that's really amazing, isn't it?
It is. It's super cool.
It is. It really is. I remember our first book. It was pretty exciting. And it smells like a new book.
And it hasn't changed either. I mean, I've had to order more author copies. It's been out since October, and I've had to order more copies already, more than once, doing book events and stuff. And still, when you open a box and you just see your books there, it's just, I mean, and it's so funny because when I grew up loving reading, and you walk into a library and you see all the books on the shelf, but you don't think, oh, these were somebody's babies. You know what I mean? Somebody experienced. So when it happened for me, I'm just like, oh man, I bet every single one of these people in this library felt what I'm feeling now. So it's crazy. It's crazy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe that that's true. Even the classic writers.
Right. Speaking of events, what is your favorite kind of event to do?
Oh, events make me so nervous. I don't like to do events. No, I like public speaking. I'm trying to use my author authority and status to get into schools and to get into foster care homes and church. It just places where people are broken, really, or didn't have the life that they maybe thought that they were going to, and maybe feel like they can't do the next thing, or even just be status quo, feel like they're broken, so they can't be used. And I like to speak and try to help them and show them that, I went from childhood trauma to foster mama to published author. And I'm trying to show the world that broken can still be beautiful and damaged can still be productive. So I like speaking engagements. That's not necessarily pushing my book sales. I mean, I mentioned the book and they can see my book and see what the finished product is, what my beautiful has turned into. But I like that because I like to help people. I do like events where I get to meet new readers who want to talk to me about life and stuff, not necessarily just my book. I'm the type of author where I'm sitting at the table trying to sell my book, and I've done craft fairs, I've done boutiques. Listen, if they'll have me, I'll go. Okay, I'm out there. I'm going to CC's later today to I'm going to paint kids' faces and try to sell my kids' book. But my mom and my husband are more the type, if they come with me to the table, they're like, hey, come buy this book. And I'm like, you don't have to stay. You can go. You can stop talking to them. I'm so sorry. Like, I'm trying to usher them away from me. Any event where I am having to sell myself, I don't love. Any event where I can feel like I'm helping somebody, I love.
Yeah, and it is very hard. Now, you do know that we live in Florida, right? Were you trying to go to California Disney or Disney World?
No, Florida. Oh, yeah, Florida.
Yeah. We were pass holders for
a long time.
A long time. I mean, a long time.
I have a best friend who works at Yellow Shoes in Disney, and she lives there. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm going to come live with you. So if I show up at your door, guys,
we used to know a lot of the staff there. We don't now. Now our kids go when their kids go, but we haven't been in a while. A couple
of them have passes.
Yeah, they have annual
for their
passes.
Families.
But when our kids were young, we had annual passes in California. And then when we moved here, we had annual passes here. And we had booked a room in, I want to say, the Wilderness Lodge. And when we checked in, they said to us, how many times have you been here? And he said, about 1,000. So can we get an upgrade? And they laughed so hard. They did. They gave us an upgrade. They gave us a big room with a balcony where you could look out over the lake and see the fireworks in the Magic Kingdom every night from your room.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And we've been on Disney cruises.
Ooh, I want to do that so bad.
They're amazing. We've been on other cruises, but Disney cruises are definitely the cream of the crop. They're wonderful.
So my in-laws don't like to take me places like, have you guys ever heard of Medieval Times? I think that's around.
Yes.
Yeah, there's one in Orlando.
There's one in Orlando near Disney.
Yeah.
So anything like that, like think that type of stuff. Like I'm the person who's louder than the children, like screaming and waving and cheering and booing and talking to the queen. And, they throw a flower. I've been to Medieval Times probably 8 times and I've always gotten a flower. I've never not gotten a flower because I'm just that obnoxiously loud, like fangirl. Because I get into it. So at Disney, it's not even going to be my kids running around like hugging characters. It's going to be me, like hugging them, taking pictures with them. And my in-laws are like, we cannot go places with you, Savanna. I want to have a good time. So much of my childhood, it's not good memories. And I want to live life to the fullest and just enjoy everything that I'm doing, especially when you get such cool experiences like that,
Well, we used to go so much that all the cast members knew us, and also the ride loaders and stuff. And so we'd sit and watch a show, and we'd get into VIP seating because, we'd be sitting with cast. And I remember his nieces and nephew came down at Easter time, which, believe me, not a good time to go.
Good time to go.
Not Easter, not 4th of July, and not Christmas. Not a good time to go.
Too busy.
You'll get to do 4 rides in the day, and that's it, if you're lucky. But so we went on Space Mountain in the Magic Kingdom, which, of course, is a big ride, a big draw. And when we got off, when we were going to get off, the girl came running over the ride loader, and she said, "Do you want to go around a second time?"
Oh.
And his nieces and nephews looked at us like, "What?" And we said, "Sure." So we just went around a second time. And this was with a 4-hour wait, by the way, in the line. So they just thought we walked on water.
You guys are Disney royalty.
We used to be. We haven't been there in a long time. So I don't think anyone would know us.
We've been deposed, I think.
Yeah, we've been replaced by other people. But
I don't even like rides. I just want to go eat and see all the characters and see all the imagery. I don't even like to ride rides. I'm not a Six Flags girl. I'm not a go to the fair kind of girl. I'm sure there's rides that I would get on, but that's not my draw. Like, I don't even care about that. I just want to go eat the food and see the people. Like, let's see the characters and the shows.
There's a lot of really great shows, and there's a lot of character meets that are really amazing. They really do it well there. I
just want the magic of it. You know what I mean? I just want that happy place feeling.
It is magical. And now they have so many magical things, like, Pandora, what do you call it? Avatar. Yeah. That at day and night are both amazing. There's just a lot of magical things there. It's a really cool place. I hope you get to go before your kids are too much older.
Yeah, it's just the financial piecing, all the finances, especially right now. I mean, go to Disney, buy eggs. It's about the same price. You know what I mean? Just kidding.
No, it's really true. We took our kids there for a week when they were all little, and we went camping on property, and they still talk about that. It was really wonderful for them.
I didn't even know they did that. We love to camp.
Yeah, Fort Wilderness.
Fort Wilderness. I mean, it was so fun for them. It really was. It has the big beach where you can go down every night, and they have a special parade that goes around on the water. It's an electric light parade on boats, and they could run down there and watch that, or they could watch the fireworks instead of being in the big crowd, because some of them were really little. I think our son was 18 months old. He's in his 40s now, but they just, really had a really good time. But yeah, you should camp. It's going to be cheaper than if you have your own camping stuff, like if you have your own trailer or your own tents or whatever. But just remember, it is really hot here if you're tent camping. So
yeah,
maybe do it in the fall or the winter. Though this winter wouldn't have been good because we've been freezing.
Well, we haven't talked about any of your writing yet, your books, really, which we're going to do. But why don't we go ahead and take our break now, a minute or so early, which is no one cares. So we'll go ahead and when we come back, we'll start talking.
We'll talk about the books, and we'll also let you all know where you can find her.
Yes.
Okay, where you can talk with her yourselves.
Okay.
Well, right.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Welcome to Magnolia Bluff, Texas, a small town in the heart of the Texas Hill Country near Burnett Reservoir. A town where everyone's business is discussed at the local coffee shop. A town where neighbors look out for each other. A town not insulated from murder and mayhem. Which begs these questions. Who is responsible for breaking into quaint Victorian homes? And how are poodles, ghosts, drug cartels, and a Ponzi scheme connected with a serial killer? Caroline McCluskey, the town's librarian, catalogs books using the Dewey Decimal System. When a black and white poodle puppy arrives unannounced, she calls him Dewey.
Now, Caroline must catalog events to identify a serial killer in her town. Pick up your copy of The Dewey Decimal Dilemma, now available on Amazon.
They thought the siren was dead. In the novel Siren Song by author George Dismukes, James Harmon shot her twice. Several people saw her dead body sinking slowly into the abyss. But now, in Siren Song 2, evidence suggests that she may still be alive.
She killed that boatload of people. It was her! And she's just getting started!
Angie, that's impossible.
The cold chill up my spine tells me it's not impossible. We've got to start all over again. And this time, do it right.
Siren Song 2. The story continues. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites. Get your copy today.
People who like to read want to get their hands on books by Becca Jones.
Becca Jones, the breakthrough author who tells it like it is. It takes courage to tell a story when it reveals dark secrets. Becca Jones delves deep into the hidden world of sexual abuse. She tells what happened and also tells how she survived.
Meant to Be is much more than just entertaining. Meant to Be gives you a point of reference, hope to cling to, and becomes a guide for survival if you have suffered the same thing. Meant to Be, Becca Jones, a must-have.
Meant to Be is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites.
And we're back.
We are back.
Well, how about if first we talk about your book, Reset? I think we'll do the reading later on in the show, but let's, if you wouldn't mind giving us a little bit of background about Reset without giving anything away. No spoilers.
Okay, so I'll basically give you the blurb. There's a retired Army general who he's just kind of fed up with how the United States is it's gone away from what he fought for and what he stands for in the Army and kind of what America was founded on, et cetera, et cetera. So he kind of just gets sick of it. Through a chain of reactions, he says enough is enough, and he decides that he's going to start the United States over with just 500 people. He's going to take 400 of those and split them up across the United States in 4 corners. And he runs an algorithm, and he picks the best of the best that he feels in the world. And those who he feels, which is the problem, it's his personal opinion, who are still good enough to be alive. And his plan is he'll separate them, they'll repopulate, and we'll create a good America again. But he monitors everybody. He implants them with monitoring devices, and everybody in these cities, they're having to behave together. And every bad action you do, it goes against you. And if your town hits 100% of bad, you get wiped out too, like America did. So everybody's just trying their best to be perfect. And of course, this is a flawed mentality. And of course, nobody's perfect. And of course, this isn't a plan that's going to work. He thinks it will. He thinks he's thought of everything. And so the main character has to team up with his arch enemy in the book. And they have to work together to try to fix everything that's been broken.
Wow. That's quite scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrifying. And, there are some people that think they know what's best. It's like, we don't want them. Yeah, I'm going to put the cover back up. And if you could describe it for those people that are listening on podcasts, because they won't be seeing this cover, which is very nice, by the way.
Thank you. So this is actually a cool story. It's another one of those things that most people don't know about the cover is inside of my story. There's 2 lampposts on the cover of this and kind of a spooky, there's a pathway. It's a park entrance is what it is. And there's 2 lampposts and they're pretty ginormous. And the reason they needed to be ginormous is because I needed them to be big enough for people to fit inside of. And I'll just leave that right there and you can figure it out when you buy the book. But I needed people to fit inside of them. And I told my husband and he's like, babe, where are we going to find those? And I said, I don't know, but in my head, I know what they look like. And so we actually had to travel to Monroe, Louisiana, through Monroe, Louisiana to go to Mississippi months before my book came out. And I was looking at pictures of lampposts and just everything. Well, I could not find the right post. Well, we drove over a city bridge in West Monroe, and I told him, I did the wrong thing as a wife. I screamed, "Stop the car!" And he's like, "What?" I said, "Turn around. I found my lamppost. I found them." And he's like, "What do you mean?" So we turned around, and at the entrance of this bridge, the Lay Joyner Bridge in West Monroe, Louisiana, these two lampposts were at either side of the bridge, at the front and at the entrance and the exit. And I took a picture beside them. And when I'm standing there, the base of the lamppost are taller than me standing. And I have a picture by two actual landmarks in Louisiana. And I got it to the design team, and we reconfigured the lights on top and changed them up a little bit so they weren't identical, but they are inspired by real landmarks. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. It's a really pretty cover too. It looks spooky, like you said. It's dark forest, and
it's a dark forest with some fog and some blue hints to it. Yep. And so, yeah, the lampposts are lit up, so it's got that creepy vibe. And it's supposed to be like a park is a great place to be, but in my book, it's a park in a new city that was destroyed, and people, millions of people died in the city. So it's not supposed to be as magical as a park is. So it's supposed to give you that creepy vibe.
Yeah, not inviting at all.
No.
Especially since everyone alive needs to be perfect all the time.
And your tagline on there said, "Be good, your life depends on it."
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah, that's a really good tagline.
Of course, good is kind of a matter of opinion, right?
It absolutely is.
Well, in my book, it's really the matter of one guy's opinion.
One person.
Yeah, he sits up and he took the other 100 people and kind of created him a team of watchers, and they're called the resetters, and they just sit and monitor everything that you do. And if he thinks it's bad, then it's a strike against you.
Oh, I wouldn't last a day.
No, maybe an hour.
I'm sure.
No, probably not.
My mouth would get me in trouble.
Oh boy.
I for sure would say the wrong thing. And then this children's book, Be Berry.
Yeah. So, okay, I'll be honest with you. When I wanted to be an author, I everybody would ask me, "What kind of author do you want to be?" Well, as a reader, I read more than one genre, so it kind of is a question that kind of threw me off at first. I'm like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "What genre are you going to write?" I'm like, "Oh, all of them? I mean, I don't know." And I said, "But I won't write children's books. That's not really my niche." They're like, "You have 6 kids. You work with kids. What do you mean you won't write children's book?" I'm like, "Oh, because I won't write. It's just, I want to write fiction." So, anyways, in my reset book, I wrote a story, and it's not really a spoiler. I mean, it is, but it's not going to give away the storyline. But the mother is reads to her son to try to give him some normal childhood. This is after the reset. And he recalls one of his favorite books, and he gives inside of Reset a brief synopsis of a children's book that she read to him that reminds him of his mother. And so I wrote it, and my husband and my mom read it, and they're like, "Do you know that you just wrote a children's book?" And I said, "What?" They're like, "Inside your book, that's the outline for a children's book." And I said, no, it's not. And anyways, long story short, it was, and that's what Be Berry is. Be Berry is the children's book inside my dystopian novel. And so my husband, the front of the cover of that is a little bee in a green and red jacket, and his name is Barnaby. And my husband actually drew that bee. He designed that, and
nice.
The people we hired for the cover just digitized him and made him 3D because it was just sketch art, and they recreated him. So my 2 books are kind of forever linked together.
That's
awesome. That's really cool.
Good idea.
That really is awesome. I like that. How fun. Yeah. You must be so proud of your husband and yourself.
For sure.
Let me give you all of Savanna's information. You can find her on Facebook at Savanna Loy Author, and Savvy is SAVY, and Loy is LOY. And she made it really easy for us because you can find her on Instagram at Savanna Loy, easy peasy. And on Twitter, you can find her at author S. Yeah, at author Savanna Loy. Sorry, I was jumping ahead to your email address. On Twitter, you can find her at author Savanna Loy. Let me say that at least once correctly. And the email is authorsloy@yahoo.com. And I'm going to leave that up right now and put up the book
Okay.
giveaway.
Everybody, our book giveaway tonight, and I know this is pre-recorded, but there is a book giveaway, so make sure you go ahead and, even if you're tuning in a little bit late, go ahead and put in for it.
Give it a shot.
The first 3 people to email authorsloy@yahoo.com will win an ebook copy of Reset. So get busy typing.
Yes, and we'll just leave that up for a while.
And if you're listening to this later on the podcast,
give it a shot.
A week or 2 later even, or weeks later, go ahead and communicate. Go ahead and email and say hi and see what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
There may be copies left, there may not be, but everybody likes to hear from the readers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. And do you have any kind of mailing list or anything like that, Savanna?
If they email me, that's kind of all tied together. I kind of work off of my email. I do have a website too, and you can sign up for the newsletter there. But I'm pretty active on my email. I try to respond to everybody that I can on my reader, and I'm always doing giveaways and prizes and things like that. So,
what is your website?
AuthorSavvyLoy.com. It's all the same thing.
That's easy. So.
I can make up one.
We'll make up a little banner to put up there so people will be able to find it. But yeah, so that's really good. If you would like to do a reading from Reset, I'm sure that everybody would love to hear it.
So I'm in a book group on Facebook, and it's over 1.2 million people. It's a huge book group. And somebody asked me the other day, should you read the prologue of a book? Well, there were so many people who said, no, don't read it. It's an author's ways to try to fatten their book, or it's an author's attempt to draw. I don't know what they were saying. Well, I always read the prologue, and I have a prologue in my book, and it is crucial to the story. Like, it's key. And so I'm going to read from that prologue is where I'm going to read from. So if you don't read prologues, I'm not saying you have to, but in my book, it's a necessity. So I don't know what y'all think about that, but I was amazed. There was over 100 people on that comment thread who said, no, you don't need to read the prologue. It's a waste of time. So.
Wow. Well, you know what? And you're probably the same because you're a reader. I'm a reader. I read everything in the book. I mean,
right.
The
back cover.
I do.
Yeah.
I read everything.
I read the dedication. I read it all.
I do too. Sure. I really want to see who they dedicated the book to. That speaks to me about who that person is. To you, if you want to know the truth.
I had a reader message me 2 days ago about my dedication and how sweet it was. So, anyways, I was just amazed. So please, readers, yes, read the prologue. It's there.
Yeah, the prologue is really important. Our prologues, we worked
crucial.
hard at them.
Yeah.
It was the first thing that I wrote was the prologue. And
that's right.
The prologue came like in my dream. My dream opened the way that my book opens. The prologue is the way my dream started for this book. So yeah, it's super important. So, okay, I read to children, so I'm going to try not to be all childlike when I do this. All right. Mick swallowed hard. He had always prayed that it wouldn't come to this. He ran to the entrance now created by the post, and he reached inside. He felt the cold, hard metal in his hands. He knew he had found the interior pole that he himself had helped build. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes. He was always nervous about the jump. Practicing at the fire station suddenly didn't seem like enough. He also knew there would be no mat to catch him at the end of this 10-foot drop. He looked around at the empty, dark park, and he could feel his own emptiness inside him surfacing. He was trying not to get emotional. This town had been home for 9 years, and although he absolutely loathed the reason he was there, his family had created memories in this place. His heart ached. Please make it, Trish, he whispered out loud. He swallowed hard and jumped.
That's very good.
Good.
One of our daughters is Trish.
Oh.
So that's like
not the same one.
I hope Trish makes it.
Yeah. Trish is his wife.
I assumed. And here's her website. I put that up. AuthorSavvyLoy.com. So write her. You'll get in touch with her, see what she's got on her website. You'll probably have a very interesting time. I'll put the email back up now for those of you who are wanting to get the free copy, the free ebook of Reset. It really sounds good. I'm going to ask you a question that I know a lot of our audience, you were going to ask it, because they always want to know this. Are you a pantser or are you an outliner? Do you plotter? They say pantser or plotter, but it means do you outline?
Okay, so I don't I guess I'm kind of both. So for me, I don't outline everything. The only thing that I outline is, this is going to sound weird, but I pick my chapter titles ahead of time, and I'll do my chapter titles, and then that's pretty much it. Then I literally, and I hope this never changes. It's such an exhilarating experience for me. When I go to sit down to write a chapter, I literally just sit at the computer and I say the same thing every time. I say, guide my hands and clear my head, because I've got so many kids and so much of my life that I don't want distractions. And then I keep Dove dark chocolate with me. Dove dark chocolate on.
The most important thing.
That's the important
I'm trying to get Dove to sponsor me. Let me just show you this. This is a box beside my writing desk, and it is full.
There you go.
Like, I'm not kidding. Like, I'm obsessed. It's a big box full of Dove dark chocolate. And what I do is I suck on the chocolate, and I find that just that action of sucking on the chocolate, that occupies my brain enough for me not to think about everything else that's going on. And I literally will just take a deep breath, and I just type. And then I stop at the end of the chapter. And because I'm so self-critical and I lack a lot of self-confidence, I will not read it. I don't go back and read it. I have 3 people who read for me, beta read, who try to catch like mistakes or like, this didn't make sense, or what were you trying to say? Oh, you used the wrong word here. And they'll do that, and I'll go back and correct what they say. So we do rough editing. We don't really do a full edit. And I'll do the entire book that way. And then I submit it for edit. Then I go to all the editing and all of that once it's done. So I just kind of go off the cuff, and just, so far it's worked for me, and nothing's been completely, confusing or anything like that. The storyline has flowed. So I guess pantser. I write out my chapters, so at least I know when I'm starting the chapter what the title alone for me gives me the outline in my head. I know what I'm trying to accomplish in that chapter. So
okay, so it's sort of an outline.
It is a hybrid, which I think most of our audience that are authors.
That is a different
hybrid.
way to do it, though. That's a good way to do it. I like that. Yeah.
Now I am finding, though, with my second book.
No, we're not. I didn't say we were. I said it's a good way to do it.
I am finding that with my second book, I'm not outlining anything. I'm doing it the same way, but I did go back and make myself note cards with the character name and like their description, so that way I'm not changing hair color in the you know what I mean, like something.
Oh yeah, you have to do that. I assume that you're talking about a sequel to Reset.
I am. Yes, ma'am.
So you have to do that. Everybody has. You forget otherwise. But I do want to say this about your first book, is that after it's been out for a while, you really should reread it, because you're going to love it. And that's the best feeling, is to read your book and say, wow, I did that. And I'm proud of it. And especially for people that lack self-confidence.
Yeah.
To be really blessed by the fact that they like their own book.
That's right.
That's a good thing.
You'll be amazed.
It's on my list to do, and because right now you're so right, Joan, because right now everything about Reset for me in my life, it's just kind of like critical. I want to say it's still it's edited, but it's like people are critiquing it, and people are, I found this comma mistake, and I'm like, what? I paid for 3 rounds of editing, and so it's so businessy with my book. It's not pleasurable. You know what I mean? Like I can't, every time I look at Reset, it's like, I got to make sales. My Amazon reviews. No KDP sales for 3 days. What am I doing? So it's so much pressure that it's not, I'm not reading anything that I'm writing. I'm reading other books to kind of alleviate that pressure and that stress of how much pressure my book is causing me. And I do want to get to the point one day where I just pick it up and I'm like, I'm just going to enjoy my book, but it's not right now. It's not happening right now.
Yeah. And the truth is that I don't care if Random House publishes it, you're going to find mistakes in it.
Yeah.
It's just a fact of life.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it.
And once you're an author and you go back and you read something like that and you find the mistakes, then after a while you're like, oh, well, that's okay. It happens to everybody.
Right.
I wish all people thought that way. Somebody literally crucified me the other day on Facebook in a group and said, your book was amazing. Too bad if you would have maybe paid for some editing, I could have given it a good rating. And I said, yeah, I paid for 3 rounds of editing. 3.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Everybody edits differently anyway.
I'll tell you, we got a horrible review for our first book and basically said that it was full of cliches and, a whole bunch of other really nasty things. It was, those kind of reviews are not trying to help you. That's pointed at you personally. And those of you that are listening, if you're going to review a book, please say what you like about it. And if you have constructive, and please hear what I'm saying, constructive criticism that will help the author, definitely do that. But tell us what you like about it so that other people who like those same things and will be attracted to those things will pick up the book and read it. That's how you write a review. Anyway, here is our first book. See? Can you see the smoking gun?
I can, yeah.
Okay. So I then used it in our Twitter as an ad for the book. Is the smoking gun should be a hint that it is a book with a lot of cliches.
Right. But
you did it on purpose. Yes. It was supposed to be funny. Yeah, they also said, and it's funny when they don't even mean to be funny. And I'm like, we did mean to be funny.
Thank you. That was the intent. I appreciate that.
Glad you got the point, right?
We need to break for our last sponsors. So hang on. We'll be right back.
Madison Jackson loved being a cop. A young girl is raped and murdered near Burnett Reservoir. Madison vows to get justice for the child. Madison travels to the heart of Mexican cartel country. She is kidnapped, tortured. Will Madison ever make it home? Justice by Kelly Marshall, only at Amazon.com.
Many secrets are hidden within the darkness of the jungle. Behold, this one about a man, a woman, a black jaguar, and an ancient Maya legend. Two Faces of the Jaguar is a novel by George Dismukes that will take you deep into the jungle and capture your imagination until the last word. Two Faces of the Jaguar is book 1 of a trilogy. Two Faces of the Jaguar, where only the adventurous dare to read.
Two Faces of the Jaguar, The Lost City, and The Jaguar's Quest are available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites. Two Faces of the Jaguar, the book people are talking about. Get your copy today.
At Indie Booksource, you can shop by genre or by author, and you will be buying direct from the author's main purchase link. We offer hundreds of titles in formats that include ebooks, paperback, hardbound, and audiobook. Support an indie author. Visit indiebooksource.com today. And we're back.
Hello.
So what I wanted to ask you is, when you were writing the book, and like you had mentioned before that when you went into the library and you looked at all those books and realized those books were somebody's babies, after you'd written yours. Did you also have the experience of your protagonists becoming so personal and so real to you that you know them as well as you would yourself or your best friend?
Yeah, I believe so because in a way, in my book, they're not based off of one person, like a lot of my friends and family would read the book and go, is that me? Was that me? And I'm like, it's not you. But there are moments with my characters where they would do something or say something that was like a real life experience that people around me, or a memory that triggered. So they weren't based on people, but they were based on life, and they just kind of segued. The way the mother is, the way the mother has a relationship with one of the daughters in the book is very similar to there's one scene that replayed what me and one of my daughters experienced. And so in a way they had elements of family and friends. So they were like real life people to me. I mean, they still are, I think about all of them. And then of course you picture them in your head, what they're going to look like. So, oh yeah, they're for sure real life. And I say they're book babies because, man, the process, kind of the stage, there's stages, and there's crying and there's pain and there's joy. So, and then the labor comes and you forget about all the hard stuff and you're like, oh, it's so beautiful. It's just like a baby.
There you go.
And then the merchandising begins, and it's back into the crying. And
now I gotta raise the darn thing.
It's the terrible 2 stages of marketing. Yeah, for sure.
Well, now that you're writing the second in the series, are you finding that your characters are going in directions that you didn't expect them to go?
I feel like because I don't outline things that a lot of it goes in. I don't have a plan when I start, so it doesn't. I think they all kind of go in a direction that I'm not expecting it to go because I don't limit or set expectations on it. So I know, like with Reborn, which is the second one, I knew how I wanted to start. I knew what I didn't want to talk about in the very beginning. And so, but I didn't know exactly how it was all going to play out. So yeah, they kind of just take a mind of their own as they go, which I love that. I also don't write super, super detailed. There are some authors who detail everything down to the letter. And I actually had somebody complain to me that I don't detail enough. But for me, as an author, what I want to do is there's a certain scene, and I won't say it because it'll be a spoiler, but there's a certain scene where the girl comes out, and I don't I describe the time of day, but I don't describe what she's wearing. Because for me, in my head, I may picture a nightgown, but you may picture sleep pants and a tank top. This other person may picture a bathrobe, you know what I mean? And somebody's like, why didn't you tell me exactly what she was wearing and what color? I kind of want my book to be their book too, and let their own imagination play. Like I give you the general premise, but if you want to, she has blonde hair, but if you want to put in pigtails, go ahead. And if I want to down in my head when I'm picturing it, I want the story to kind of be their own too. It's my story, but I want you to be involved in the creative vision of it.
Yeah. Well, believe me, if you did detail it down to the last letter, they would complain about that too.
Oh, I know. I'm learning that. I knew going into it that there would be some nasty, and in fact, I told my mom, I won't read reviews. I won't look at my ratings. I won't do any of that. I can't handle it. But then as an author, you realize it's an addiction, and you can't help but check your KDP every hour to see if it's still at a 0. You can't help but check. Oh man, I had 5 stars. Why is it at 4? Why did my rating lose half a star? Oh no, a 1 star. Who said that? Oh, they didn't leave a comment. Okay, well now I don't know what they hated. So it's a side of authoring that you just really like. I'm actually going to start doing workshops and for foster care, the side you aren't prepared, that training doesn't prepare you for. I'm going to start doing workshops. What being a reader doesn't prepare you for. Not to discourage people, but just so that they're not, blindsided by some of the stuff that's really thrown me for a loop.
Yeah, it throws us all for a loop, believe me.
Well, that's the truth, right?
It's a long learning curve.
And it's a long process. I think that's been hard too, because for somebody like me who I do lack that self-confidence, there's not the instant gratification comes from your book being out. And then when you have the reader who will message you and go, oh my goodness, this, I had a lady who messaged me and said I had lost my love for reading. Your book gave me my mojo. Those are the moments I live for right now. I can't expect my sales to be, in the millions right out. And I know that part's going to be a long process, but when I have those people who message me and say, your book did this, this, and this, or you have the gift of writing, that gets me through till to the next day. So the instant sales and the money and all of that, that's a long burn. So that's going to take a long time.
And it may never happen.
True.
So you just need to write because you love to write. And then I mean, that is part of the learning process too, is that, it's tough right now. It's a tough market. And we were talking in the pre-show how financially times are tough for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So people just don't have the discretionary funds that they used to have,
Yeah.
So it's a tough time for everybody.
It is for sure.
Yeah. And you were talking about you couldn't get to Disney because of that. I just wonder, it ruined a vacation of ours too. We had everything paid for and all set to go. And, and then we have a travel trailer and we travel around the country, and we had planned a whole trip from here to, I don't know, the Badlands and Mount Rushmore and Yellowstone and a whole bunch of places. And then everything started. We started out in Colorado before we even got up there, and everything started canceling one by one. And I remember calling up this one woman in Wyoming, and it was a place we were going to stay between Jackson Hole and, between the Grand Tetons and Yellowstone. And it was a beautiful place. And we had made the reservation a year ahead of time, and they'd reserved a site for us that overlooked the mountains. It was gorgeous. And I said, couldn't we just come anyway, even though everything's closed, And she said, darling, we can't even get food up here. There'd be no place for you to even buy food. So it was, I can't imagine how many vacations and plans were ruined by the whole lockdown.
Yeah.
Everybody's plans. It's crazy.
It was crazy, wasn't it?
It was.
It was insane. It's something that we've never seen before in our lives, and we've lived a long time.
We're old folks.
We're old people. But actually, my grandparents lived through the yellow fever. That whole the Spanish flu. They lived through the Spanish flu that decimated a lot of the world population.
Yes.
And they never talked about it.
What?
Yeah. We heard about the Great Depression from my grandparents and my parents, believe me, heard about that a lot.
Yeah.
But never heard about the Spanish flu. And then when there was all those comparisons between COVID and the Spanish flu, I was like, why did they never talk about it?
Yeah.
But I feel like our parents' generation and our grandparents, they were all very stoic and didn't talk about anything. And you especially didn't talk to children about that stuff.
No. You didn't air anything. It was private. Families kept everything, hidden and private, and you didn't air grievances. You just took life as it was. And now we're social media, and everybody knows what you eat and what you do and where you're going. So it's completely different world that we live in. You know what I mean? It's social media is almost, if you're not on social media, you get the looks like, whoa, what's wrong? Where are you from? That was me. I wasn't on social media before I became an author. And a friend of mine said, you have to do that, right? And I was like, do what? Get on social media. I'm like, why? She want to be an author. And I'm like, oh, okay.
I'm not on social media. Except for, this for our books and podcasts and stuff. But I do not tell everybody where I just had lunch or how fast.
Yeah, I don't either.
It has no appeal to me whatsoever. Zero.
I look at it as a business platform, but yeah, I'm kind of old school too, where I was like, man, I don't got time for social media. But I say that the social media isn't a bad thing. It's allowed me to connect with. I'm doing an author chat for a school English class. Like their teenagers did like a research and all that on my book. And so I'm doing a little chat with them so they can get to meet me. And that's incredible. And I don't even know where they're from. I think it's in the US, but I don't remember the state, but I would have never had that opportunity without social media, things like this. It's not like I could go to Florida and sit and speak with you guys. So it's created a lot of opportunities, and it's not a bad thing if it's used the right way, for sure.
No. Yeah. I agree 100%.
So Savanna, you mentioned Reborn, that you're working on that. What else do you have on the drawing board?
Well, I have 13 right now, but what I will work on after, I really do. And they're not, they're all completely different, but after Reborn, I'll be working on super, super important to me. It's a serial killer series. It's 5 books. I already know. Yeah. But so I'm going to have to be very careful when I write it because it's fiction, but it will hint to real life things that happened in my childhood. And what I'm spotlighting specifically on has to do with one of my brothers. Now, I haven't seen one of my brothers, any of my brothers really, but one of them, haven't seen him in 15 years. And what he went through, it kind of will be about that. But he had a head injury a year ago, fell out of a tree, and he doesn't remember any of the things from the childhood. He doesn't remember any of these things. So I need to be very cautious writing it because I've got to be, I want to do it where my story is what I want it to be, but I don't want it to trigger anything unsavory for him or to bring back anything. So it's going to be I'm going to have to be very careful and incognito. So that one may require some more thought process and more outlining. But I'm super excited about it, and it's going to be pretty good. It's going to follow a husband and wife FBI team who's traveling looking for different serial killers, and then the big reveal, the shock moment, will be in book 4. So, and then another shock moment in book 5. So each book will kind of be it could be a standalone. The first 3, it's a part of a series, but the first 3, if you just read them and didn't know there was other, it would be fine because it'll be 3 different serial killers, and then 4 will kind of tie them all together, and you go, oh, I didn't realize these were tied together. So.
That's cool.
That
That's a very, very nice.
Interesting.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. It's really good. That's a great thing to do.
Yeah, and then I have a Mafia Soldier book, and that's a completely different thing. And then I've got Borrowed by You, which is something down in New Orleans, and it's a whole different. I've got a bunch of different. I mean, I have a journal full of books that I want to be out there. So
that's wonderful. That's really good.
Well,
Sounds like fun. Yes.
To seeing what comes. Yeah.
Yeah. We had a true crime author on our show who has just written his first fictionalized true crime. And he's a New York Times bestseller. He's been on, if you watch any of the like Travel Channel, Investigation Discovery, and all of those, he's been on all of those about true crime. Yeah, he's been doing it forever. But he was very cautious about the fictionalized book, because it does hit on so many things that are actually true. So I think anything about serial killers or any kind of abuse, or mental health issues, people that read just have to be careful because they could be triggered. So,
a disclaimer: nobody in my family is a serial killer. Like, I'm just going to throw that out there. Like,
well, that's good to know.
When I've talked about the SK series, that's what, and the first one's called Everett Scott. But when I talk about it, people are like, "Is he a serial killer and he doesn't remember killing people?" I'm like, no, that's not the part that's based on a true story. Like that, no.
That never crossed my mind.
Well, it did cross mine. I was a little nervous about that.
I was like, no, he didn't kill anybody. Like I would have already been in the news. Like, you guys would already know who my family is if that was the case. I promise you that.
There you go.
But somebody is in the family of those serial killers.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, they came from somewhere. They just didn't spring up in the cabbage patch.
Yep.
So.
Well, you never know.
No, they didn't.
Okay, they probably didn't. Well, Savanna, this has been wonderful. Thank you for joining us.
Looking forward to the next 13.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully by then it'll be more. I don't ever want to stop writing. I thoroughly enjoy it. It's the only thing that doesn't cause me stress in my life.
There you go.
Except for the marketing part.
Yeah, that part, the writing. That's all I look forward to.
Right.
All right.
Okay, we're going to move you over to the side. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys, so much.
Hang in there until we come back to you after the show here. Want to remind everybody this Saturday, 5:30 p.m., right here where you're watching now, Stacey Hawks, episode 64. That's February 11th. And then next week, tune in. We'll be back live with episode 96. 96 episodes. Jim Carlson, Fox Point Publishing's author, children's book author of Reagan Slays the Dragon. That's February 15th. So we'll look forward to seeing you all then. And
I want to remind everyone, this is a pre-record. So if you've been commenting and asking questions, the reason we haven't answered is because it's a pre-record, but we will try and get to them. If you're on our YouTube page, we can get to them.
Indeed, we will. Okay, so I guess until next time.
That's all, folks.
Night.
Live every Wednesday, your Voice of Indie hosts Beam Weeks and Stephen G's welcome authors, musicians, publishing industry pros, artists, and assorted creative guests for an exciting interactive hour. Call in during the show or post questions and comments on Twitter for responses in real time. Meet your favorite indie creators, learn inside tips, network, and promote your work. The link for each week's show is pinned on Twitter atop @VoiceOfIndie. And you can receive the link every Wednesday morning in your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter at freshinkgroup.com. Check out Voice of Indie every Wednesday on Blog Talk Radio and catch hundreds of episodes archived everywhere from our websites to our YouTube channel and Spotify.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DB.com.
You've been listening to WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.